Let's go ahead and start. We'll start kind of slowly, but welcome to everyone. Let's begin with housekeeping. LaToya, you'll do that for us.
Oh, we have Representative Rich with us as well.
Let me do one thing first. Yeah, well, let's go ahead and do it. Get a few more folks. I want to do one thing on my agenda, at least after a few more folks log in. So let's go ahead and go over the housekeeping.
All right, first I should restart.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is LaToya, and glad to have everyone here for our commission meeting. So in terms of keeping up with the attendees who are here, I do have everyone marked. So I have everyone's names down that are present, and attendees also, I have your names as well. So everyone, well, I do have one that says Zoom user. So if the person as an attendee that has the name of Zoom user, if you could please put your name in the chat so we can mark you as present, that would be great. But other than that, we will start with the meeting and we'll hold all questions until the end. But again, attendees will have to put their questions into the chat and we will try to respond. Thank you. And everyone stay on mute, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's take a minute to talk about Mark Rogers. And Dr. Totaro, maybe you can repeat some of your comments that you made before we started the meeting. But Mark Rogers has been a real friend to the commission and a real advocate for his constituency. And really for all of us, because when someone has certain thoughts about any given topic, and they're passionate about those and they share those, it benefits everyone, even those who may not necessarily agree. And all of us are in positions where we don't always agree about things. So he added so much to the work that we do. We're very grateful. As I think probably all of you know, the Mark passed on April the 2nd. We found out about it very quickly. We didn't know that he was battling the medical issue that he had. And Dr. Totaro actually attended his service. So Dr. Totaro, would you make some comments?
Yes, thank you, Judge Key. I mean, we all worked with Mark for many years, but what was touched by at his service is the speakers from his family, and then, of course, friends at the reception all talked about just how much is his legitimate, authentic concern for having childcare represent all the units in the state and the dedication that he put to it for so many years. I thought it was very touching, and it also reminded me of the importance of the work that we do. So we were lucky to have Mark with us, and he was a good role model for true engagement into a policy issue.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments they want to make? You know, when we lose someone that quickly, reminds us that we should vocally appreciate the work that we all do. And when folks do a good job, let them know that, let them know how much you appreciate that when you have the opportunity. So with that, I certainly thank all of you for the work that you do in this area and all the other things that you do. What we find out is people who get involved in work like this have another couple of dozen things they're involved in as well, not just this. So thank you all for everything that you do for your communities and for your state.
Judge Key, I'll add, I didn't know Mark like y'all knew Mark. I've only got to know him a few times over Zoom, but I did, after I found out about his passing, go to his obituary. For those of you who have not, there are just dozens and dozens and dozens of photographs and I believe videos. I spent probably an hour just looking at it, and you feel like you kind of get to know the man behind all of this, like the real person and the children and the grandchildren and the trips and the friends and that sort of thing. And it made me feel like I got to know Mark and could appreciate Mark a little better as a person. So if y'all haven't gone to his obituary, you can just Google it and it's easy to find. And there's a really good tribute there to him online.
Thank you. All right, so with that, Noelle, we deal with our quorum.
Yes, I believe our quorum still stands at 9 at the moment. So we've established.
All right, so we have a quorum. Now, the minutes of our last meeting on December the 10th have been distributed to everyone. I hope you've had an opportunity to read them. If anyone needs any additional time to speak up, otherwise, then I'll assume you have read them. And are there any corrections to the minutes as distributed? If not, then they stand as distributed. So we move then to old business, and we're going to start here with our economic subcommittee. Dr. Totaro.
Great, thank you, Judge Key. And really thrilled with the progress that we made on the economic subcommittee. To kind of brief everyone, at our last meeting, we talked about how we were moving ahead with selecting the counties for which our case sampling would occur. We did select actually 15 counties. It was the same algorithm we've used in the past that tries to give us geographic diversity, but have in the aggregate a combination of counties that looks like the state in terms of population density, per capita income, so that we don't end up with a number of counties that doesn't look in the aggregate representative. So this time we went for 15 counties as opposed to 12 in an effort to try to expand our sample. And we also added back for the first time counties that were in the original sampling the first time we did this. What we had done in the past was anytime a county was involved in the sample for one study, we precluded them from being in the sample for another out of respect for the burden that this puts on the superior courts in those counties. This time we put everybody back in the mix. The 15 counties that were selected were Appling, Eccles, Elbert, Fannin, Forsyth, Glasscock, Glenn, Houston, Rockdale, Stewart, Troop, Fayette, Paulding, and Ware. And of course, the staff prepared a letter that Judge Key signed and sent out to the clerks soliciting the information. Our staff contacted DCSS directly and worked with Ryan Bradley to secure DCSS worksheets and payment summaries. The good news is from that, we have already received about 440 total orders are already in our sampling, which is much larger than what we have had in the past. So that's good news. The larger the sample, obviously, the better we can actually model behavior. We also have gone ahead and the Administrative Office of the Courts executed the contract with Dr. Venor from the Center of Policy Research to conduct the 2022 study with the data that we collect. As previously approved by the commission, we had a $60,000 fee for that, which included a $15,000 charge for an updated version of the Benson-Ingalls study. So the contract has been issued. The data has been collected. Dr. Venor will begin working immediately on the analysis. We expect to receive a draft study report by July the 1st. The Economic Subcommittee will review it and provide comments back to Dr. Venor at that time. And then Dr. Venor will furnish us with the full report by July 31st. And then she will join the commission on August the 19th, 2023 to actually, 2022, to actually present the report to the commission. And then a soft copy of the report will be furnished to the full commission to review prior to that August 19th meeting. And again, I would really like to commend the Administrative Office of the courts, as well as our Cracker Jack staff. They carry such a heavy workload in getting the data collection done. So I appreciate their support. Any questions for the Economic Study Committee?
Anything staff wants to add to that?
Yeah, Judge Key, I think that would be good because Dr. Totaro doesn't know exactly at the moment where we are with all of the data. We have a few more orders to enter into the spreadsheet. And as a result, though, of we had a few issues getting some documents from clerks' offices. We had to travel to 2 different clerks' offices. They were all very accommodating when we traveled to them. And we've been on the phone, sent emails and so forth. And all of the clerks really have cooperated well. What did occur was that in some instances, they misunderstood what we were asking for. And for instance, they didn't send us the divorce decree and settlement, and so much of the information was in that document. So we'd have to make another request. And that sort of pushed us into a situation where we're down to the wire. And my intention was to send the spreadsheet to Dr. Venor today, but I'm going to work tomorrow and hopefully finish up everything and get the spreadsheet, pristine in its condition. And hopefully by Monday morning, send it to her. It might even be Saturday evening when I can get it out to her, but she will have what she needs to get started on the study itself with all the data that we're sending her from case sampling. So that's it, unless Noelle has anything else to add.
That sums it up.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Tutter, for your leadership on this, and for everyone on your committee. Thank you for your work. And Elaine, I hate to take your Saturday, but we appreciate the hard work you guys have put in.
Well, it's important that we get this work finished. It's very important. So it's Michelle's already told me I can have it back at another time. So she's a good boss.
So for those who are not monitoring the chat, I would remind you that there will be time reserved for public comment at the end of the meeting today. If you want to make any public comment, then you can type your name in the chat, and we'll allow you to do that at the appropriate time. So we would move next to Technology and Calculator Subcommittee.
All right. And Judge Key, that's going to be me today because Regina Quick, who is our chair, is out of the country. So she asked me to do the report for her. And there's not a ton of new information for you, but we do want to make sure that we bring you up to date. The staff, meaning LaTonna, Noelle, and myself, where the child support calculator is concerned, we work directly with the JCAOC IT department. We have 2 developers in that department, and we've gotten to know those 2 ladies very well. They're very easy to work with. I'm thankful for that. We did 2 deployments in January of this year. The first one was security updates, making sure that the calculator has all the bells and whistles it needs to be secure. Our IT department worked really hard on getting everything up to date, upgraded, and I did a good bit of testing to make sure that all that worked well. And we also then, the week later, did the deployment of the Schedule B self-employment taxes paid formula. That's an annual update that we have to make pursuant to 19653A7. And right now, we do have some things on our wish list, some things that we want to update. And we're looking at tweaking a little bit of language here and there. Fortunately, when we make an update to the calculator, it's very seamless. The public has no idea that we've actually made some sort of update. However, if we make an update where we have to shut the public access down so that they can't access it for a couple of hours, we put a message on the site that lets them know that this is occurring. And we try to put that message out there as much as a week in advance so that people will be aware that on so-and-so date, between so-and-so hours, you won't be able to access the calculator. But that's a very limited thing. It's generally done in the evening if we have to do that. And it's, so we're moving right along on this end with good support for the calculator. And we feel very comfortable with the transition we made late last year and, in moving the calculator support and maintenance and development into our IT department. We're still hosting on the AWS cloud, and that seems to be working really well. So things are going well with our calculator to the best of our knowledge. And we answer questions all the time from the public if they want to know something about the calculator. We also have on the commission website under training, we have a training there for pro se litigants, self-represented litigants. And it's it's a video, it's 8 different videos, and you can take it in any order you want to learn about, a specific schedule or just how do I set up my user account, things of that nature. So we're trying to make sure we're providing support regarding the calculator, especially for pro se litigants. Anyone in the public who needs that information, they can find it right there on our website.
Right. Anyone have any questions for Elaine about that report?
Oh, and Judge Key, I do have one other thing to add. I've talked with Ms. Quick about scheduling a meeting for us to look at the low income deviation to try to update it a little bit, make it a little less awkward to use, make it more user friendly. And she is going to get with me very shortly on a date so that we can set that meeting up, and then we can start looking at, how we could redesign the current low-income deviation under the current statute. And that's it.
And I know we all appreciate her stepping in and chairing this group.
Yes.
All right, so we would next go to Katie Cannell for the Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee report. Katie?
Thank you, Judge Key. I'm going to take the privilege of taking a minute. I hope that everybody, I hope no one minds, but I think there's a lot to say at this point. I'm very excited and proud of the work that we've done. Hopefully y'all have had an opportunity, but don't worry if you haven't, there is time to take a look at the report that was sent to you earlier this week. It is not short exactly. I mean, this is my hard copy of it. That is with the appendices. The report itself actually is not too terribly bad to manage. It gets to be a little bit more of a project if you're going to go through the appendices, but the report itself is about 20 pages. And I noticed, just as I was I'm not usually one to prepare remarks. I actually really enjoy extemporaneous speaking, but I didn't want to forget anything, so I did make some notes. And one of the things I noticed when I was sitting down to make some notes to make this report to you all, the commission, is that this committee is called the 2018 Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee. So let's just start with that. 2018. Everybody sit with that for a minute. This started a very long time ago, and we have gotten a couple of extensions, and I will say thank you to the commission for granting those, especially and most importantly, the extension that was granted this past December. At that meeting, we were, as a study committee, prepared to hand off if necessary at that point, but really felt like the sort of, I call them my ride or die committee members that had held out to the end, really didn't want to hand it off quite yet. They wanted to finish the work, which I think is just a real testament to these volunteers and professionals who are taking away time from their their practices and their work and the bench and their various professional obligations, and then of course their family and personal life and time to prepare this report and do this work. So that just speaks to them, and we're grateful to the commission for giving us that extra time. In that same vein of thank yous, so the study committee themselves, if you know any of them, or when you take a look at the report and you see their names, please take a moment to send the quick email or mention to your friends and colleagues that who served on this. This was a really dedicated group of people, especially those who followed through all the way until the end and voted to ratify this report and send it up to this commission. It was just so grateful for the people that really stuck it out. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I will tell you that Carol Walker, Sarah Malden, Johanna Keel, William Alexander, Pat Bododomo, and Adam Glecklin in particular were really vital in getting this work done. And so if you know any of them, it would, like I said, it would be more than appropriate for you to add your thanks, because they really gave a lot. Additionally, and certainly not to be forgotten, is staff, Latana and Noelle and Elaine. Man, I mean, our committee had 22 meetings over 3.5 years, and staff was at every single one of them. And we had the COVID interruption, and then we had the new version of COVID. I can tell you anecdotally, I'll tattle on myself. 10 minutes into one of our meetings earlier this year, I literally got the phone call from the elementary school saying that one of my kids had just tested positive for COVID. And I had to leave right then to go pick them up. I mean, he's fine, everything's fine. But it was just that, the committee just didn't miss a beat when people had things like that going on, and staff was right there with them. And so wonderful. These ladies that serve the commission as staff are just so wonderful. Great. I'm just so grateful to them. So please take a minute to thank them. As we said at the beginning of this meeting, Dr. Tutterow and Judge Key and Judge Williford mentioned Mark Rogers. He was an instrumental part of the work that the Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee did. And it is just, a little bit heartbreaking and tragic. And I know that sounds silly to say, talking about a Child Support Commission report, but it is heartbreaking that Mark missed the final version. He did see drafts of this report, but it's sad that he missed the end, because he worked so hard on it. He was one of our key members who, attended meetings, and he patiently explained economic concepts to to lawyers and professionals who do not have the background. And he was never anything but gracious about sharing his expertise with us. And we, there is a special thank you to him in the report on page 17, if you want to look at that. But I mean, talk about, gosh, a guy with an area of expertise that was, needed and just giving of his time, but it was the patience with which he did it that I was particularly struck by. Even when he knew he was meeting some resistance or opposition on a particular concept, he was always just so incredibly gracious about his taking his position, explaining it again, then maybe explaining it one more time to those of us who don't have an economics background, much less his level of expertise. So Mark was critically important. The highlights of the report, and from a substantive perspective, can be found on pages 4 through 7. If your time is limited and you are having to triage, that's where I would ask you to put your time and attention out of, at least out of the 20 pages. It is my hope that as the chairman of this study committee and as a member of the commission, Judge Key, what I'd like to do is, I'm reporting to all of you that this report is available. It has been sent to you, and requesting that it be forwarded to the Statute Review Committee, and that the commission charge the Statute Review Committee with taking both the sections of consensus and areas of concern, and forward it to them for the next round of addressing. To the extent that any of you is truly curious and wants kind of the elevator pitch of this work, what I will tell you is that the Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee is recommending that Georgia make some changes to our child support guidelines to address parenting time in a more formulaic, systematic way that is more reliable to parents. It is not a suggestion that it is not the suggestion of the study committee that the bench and or I guess technically in Georgia we can have juries lose all discretion, but we would like to see a more formulaic approach, and we've highlighted some particular areas of concern and that need addressing. That's, like I said, that's just the very high level. That's 20 pages of work summarized, or 200 really when you take the appendices, summarized into 15 seconds. But if you'll take a look at pages 4 through 7 for the more in-depth version of that. So with that, I just can't say enough thank yous to the committee and to staff. And at this point, I ask you, the commission, to please forward this work on the Statute Review Committee. I know a couple of you have actually reached out to me about, especially some of you new commission members have reached out about being added to the Statute Review Committee because you're interested in particular in the work of this report. So obviously, Judge Key, I would like to see the Statute Review Committee beefed up as we take on this next round. And I think that's it. So I'm happy to answer any questions, happy to discuss it with anyone in more detail, but please enjoy this labor of love, because that is certainly what it has been.
Hey, Katie, it's Sean LeGroux. I have a quick question, and I've already reached out to Elaine, but I'm just going to throw it out there to you right now. Maybe it would be good to sit down with you and Elaine at some time in the next month, since I'm on the Statute Review Committee and working on it, and see if we can have a more in-depth conversation.
Sure. I'd love that.
All right, well, thank you for all that work, both for the members of the committee and for staff as well. I couldn't put in better words than Katie already has, so I'll just endorse her expression of gratitude for the work. Anyone have any questions for Katie?
Judge, I have one question. This is Elaine. I just want to make sure that it's okay for us to go ahead and post that report on the commission website.
It's a report of a subcommittee,
Right.
Statute Review Committee. So I wouldn't imagine why not. I think it should be out there.
Okay.
Start looking at it.
Okay. Yeah, it was
If anyone has a different opinion that's on the commission, I'd be glad to hear it. Let's go ahead and post it out there.
okay.
And logically, what should happen next would be what Katie suggested, and that is that we send it to the Statute Review Committee to do the work she just talked about. Anyone have any objection to that? All right, well, Katie, you and your committee now have your marching orders to do just what you just offered to do.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge Key.
Yes.
It's Connie Williford.
Yes, Judge.
I guess I'm so new to the commission that I don't really know what the what the next steps are, what it looks like. As much as I appreciate the tremendous effort and commitment, I'm sort of against, or I'm not sort of, I am against what's recommended. So at what point will other members of the committee weigh in on the matter?
So let me say first is that we all received notice of all these work groups and committee meetings. And not only are you all welcome to attend those meetings, whether or not you're a member, it's encouraged to do that. I have not been able to make all the meetings in the past, but I do intend to make hopefully all of the committee meetings, statute review committee meetings that take place around this issue.
Okay.
So Elaine, we talked about this yesterday. You and Katie and I talked about it yesterday, and I think you can do a better job than me of summarizing not just the next step, but the series of steps. Can you do that for us?
Well, Katie, do you want to respond to that? Because you are the chair of the statute review subcommittee. Do you want to reply?
Sure. And actually, Judge Williford, your timing is perfect. You are on, and you may have felt your ears burning or your nose itching or whatever the expression is. Your name has come up in a couple of totally unofficial side conversations about some potential statute review committee members. Somebody who might join that committee, knowing that this report would be going to that committee next. So I would be more than happy to have you not just attend as a member of the commission, but even as a member of the statute review committee. And just hadn't gotten a chance to give you a call, although it is on my my phone to-do list that goes with me everywhere, just doesn't always get checked off as quickly as I would like. In terms of next steps, the idea is that this report gets forwarded to the statute review committee to determine to what extent any of the study committee's recommendations should be, essentially implemented, and then, after any necessary discussion, additional research, that kind of thing, start to determine to the extent that the study committee identified variables or other things that had not yet been determined, but probably would need to be determined so that proposed legislation, if any, gets drafted. That work would be done at the statute review committee level. There is a piece of this, and the report outlines it and acknowledges that there are some open-ended questions waiting on Dr. Venor's work that is due to come in July and the 1st of August of this year. So some of this is a little preliminary, although not all of it. And certainly it's not too early to start the conversation, knowing that Dr. Venor's work will play a part in it. And then if it is determined at the statute review committee level that that legislation is appropriate, we will be working with our legislative members and the friends to the commission who sit in the legislature in the two different bodies to determine kind of how to go about legislation, which is what we do at the statute review committee level for all potential legislation. Who's gonna carry it, how's it going to get written. We have, I believe she was on this call. Yes, Holly Carter is one of the staff attorneys who helps write the actual proposed legislation, but she can't even begin writing proposed legislation until there's been a request from a legislator. So there are still several steps, not just the if, but the how and the why, and that all takes place at the statute review committee level. Does that answer your question sufficiently?
Does, and I'd be happy to be on that committee.
Great.
All right. Then you're on it. So, and then but it would come back to the commission, right?
Correct. Right. The statute review committee doesn't draft legislation and then send it. The statute review committee then seeks the approval of the commission by vote and quorum and all of those things. So.
And if there are any other of you who would like to serve on the statute review committee, you can shout out now, or just let either Elaine or me know, and we'll appoint some. If there's someone particularly, Katie, that you want to reach out to, you feel free to do that. And once you get a commitment to do it, then same way, I'll appoint that person to the committee.
Thank you. I know Christina Scott
Yes,
and I spoke after the December meeting about her being interested in the parenting time deviation question, and that the statute review committee might be a great next step for her, rather than joining the study committee at the very end. But rather kind of be a part of the fresh set of eyes on the issue once this report that's been presented today came about. So assuming that Ms. Scott is still, ready, willing, and able, we did discuss that back in December.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Definitely interested in serving on the committee.
All right, she's in. So, all right, any other questions for Katie or for staff about this?
Judge Key, this is Elaine. I just wanted to comment that of our members for the statute review subcommittee, we would be adding Judge Williford, we'll be adding Ms. Scott. And I wanted to verify, Justice LaGrua, you want to be on this subcommittee as well, correct?
Correct. I thought
Okay.
I was already on it. I know it's been a hectic year for me, but yes.
Yes. Okay. Wanted to just clarify that. And Katie is the chair. We also have Senator Emmanuel Jones on this committee, Judge Lisa Jones, Judge Key as the chair of the commission is, I guess, automatically is also on the statute review, Regina Quick, and then Senator Brian Strickland. Did I miss anyone who is a member of the commission? I don't think I did, but we also have as non-commissioned members, Byron Cuthbert, who is an attorney with the Division of Child Support Services, and we have Jason Nonis. And I know Jason is with us today, and he's in the Attorney General's office. He's an Assistant Attorney General. So those are the non-commissioned members. And we had talked about one other non-commissioned member who is associated with legal aid. So Mara Block. And so I'm going to talk with her a little bit more and see if she's going to be willing to participate. She was pondering that for herself to try to make a decision based on her other job responsibilities and activities and so forth.
Also, Elaine, Superior Court Judge Amanda Petty out of the Okmulgee Circuit has agreed to be a non-commissioned member of the Statute Review Committee. I'm not familiar with how to make that official.
I can invite her.
Okay, but Judge Petty has already confirmed a willingness to serve on the Statute Review Committee.
Okay.
She's fantastic. She'd be a great addition.
Agreed. Thank you.
For those who don't remember, and if I have my memory correct, then actually Justice LaGrua was chair of the Statute Review Committee before she was appointed to the Supreme Court, and then came back and rejoined commissions.
Yeah,
I'm just happy to help.
All right, thank you. All right, well, this really is exciting for those of us who were around at the beginning of the new child support law, not new anymore. Then we know what happened with this. There was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a parenting time deviation in the original bill, and then the bill had a future effective date longer than normal. We had, I think, 4 public hearings around the state. There were several, I remember, around the state, supposedly just to address technical corrections, but it got way beyond that. And we got our cart in a ditch around things that are still there. That is, how do you find a day and how do you define a day and things like that. So I appreciate this work, and I'm really excited about it and the way it may play out. I'll just tell you one thing that we've talked about is this is the kind of bill that could also use an effective date beyond July 1st of the year if anything ever passes, if anything comes out of this. And we might time it just enough so that I retire from the bench in 2.5 years. So if it becomes law just when I retire, then I can't be blamed for it. Right? So that's my plan. All right. Any new business? Oh, I'm sorry. Report on training.
Thank you, Judge Key.
Sure.
And good afternoon, everyone. I'll just give a brief report on the child support calculator trainings that we provided last year. In other words, in calendar 2021 last year. So in total, we conducted 20 trainings. 12 of those were our basic child support guidelines and calculator training that we conduct monthly via Zoom. It's a scripted training based on a fictitious fact pattern. After logging into the online child support calculator, while Elaine and Noelle are presenting, I share my screen so that attendees may see exactly how to input information into the calculator. Those basic trainings attract a wide array of attendees, including seasoned practitioners, self-represented litigants, and judges alike. That training is 1 hour, and we always stay on Zoom to field questions as long as necessary, which typically runs along additional 30 minutes. If attorneys attend, we have this training pre-approved for 1 hour CLE and arrange for that attorney to get CLE credit through the state bar. We also report CE to GODR, Georgia Office of Dispute Resolutions, for registered neutrals as needed. In 2021, we also collaborated with the GODR, to provide training specifically for Georgia's registered neutrals. We provided 2 of those trainings. One was our typical 1-hour demonstration training, and the second was a question and answer lunch and learn. At their request, in February and September, we held 2 calculator trainings specifically for the Division of Child Support Services. We received personal requests from 2 judges for specialized training for juvenile court judges in Hall County and for Superior and Magistrate Court judges in Cobb County. Noel and Elaine conducted both of those via Zoom. In January, at their request, we also recorded a training video for the use by the Council of Superior Court Judges for its winter conference. Also in September, Noel provided a nuts and bolts training to a meeting for the child welfare law specialists. Thank you. I'll turn it back to Judge Key.
Thank you. And I talked to some Hall County judges about the training. They really enjoyed it and learned a lot from it. So they appreciate that very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So that actually completes old business. And the first item on the new business is to do what we've already done, which is to send the Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee report to the Statute Review Committee. And we would move then to public comments. Has anyone signed up for public comment? Let's see.
I don't see anyone. Do you? No.
Yeah, oh, nope, we just had somebody pop through.
Oh,
Mr. Raj Antone.
yes, in here. Okay.
And we
Oh, I
now
see
see, so.
Gil Freeman also, I see his name as well.
Right, we can unmute.
So we'll start with Raja. Let me go over here.
While he's going on, let's acknowledge for the record that Chuck Clay, a member of the commission, has joined us some time ago. I just now thought to recognize.
Yes, and Representative Gaines.
All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, Raja.
Hey, thank you. And I just first like to say thanks. I have been kind of riding along in the back seat, I guess, or in the car behind, as with all the developments on the Parenting Time Deviation Study. So it's really encouraging to see the traction that it's garnered. I was really happy to see the motion and all that. I'll just leave it there. It's just really encouraging to see the traction and to see the concern. The 2 things I just like to say, I guess, quickly here today. I understand that, from a tax filing perspective, I understand how that is so, I guess, inextricably tied to the federal level. I understand that. I just wish that at the state level that there was the wherewithal. It would be helpful if the courts could consider or enact rulings, constructs that would promote an alternating relationship or dynamic between the 2 parties, the custodial parent and the non-custodial parent, because again, I advocate for fathers, non-custodial parents and fathers. And every year, so many guys go through this. It's like you pay all of this child support and even sometimes alimony, all year long. But when it comes time for taxes, there's no recompense. You can't get the child tax credit because the custodial parent typically has a social security number, and irrespective of what her salary is, they are able to quote unquote claim the child. And the fathers, the non-custodial parents have sacrificed so much throughout the course of the year to subsidize that household pretty much. And there's nothing to show for it. And even with and it ties, I think it's so great that, when you look at it from the economic study, those impacts, I mean, that is part and parcel, right? It's the same dynamic with the parenting time study. So in closing, I'd just like to say, we haven't essentially incurred or duplicated our expenses when we have the child with us on top of paying the child support. But then when tax time comes, the state nor the federal government recognizes that struggle, recognizes those sacrifices. So I just wish that when we went into those courtrooms or went into even those mediation sessions, right, that there would be the common practice, the common consideration that fathers, because it took two to make the child, that the fathers or the non-custodial parents would also be able to, quote unquote, benefit from that financial responsibility. Because, you know, with the Biden bucks included, right? Dads don't get those, typically don't get those. So thank you for your time. I appreciate your indulgence, but please have the court, the state to really start considering that, the impacts on fathers.
Thank you, sir. Let's see, Bill Freeman is asked to speak. Bill?
Trying to find their name.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Tracy Palmer wants to make public comment.
The last person is Tracy Palmer.
Palmer, yeah.
So I'm
Not seeing the Tracy. Am I missing her? Has anyone else signed to make a public comment? That we've not
No, I
recognized?
think Tracy Palma is the last I see have put her name in the chat, but I'm no longer seeing her on the call. She may have fallen off.
So Chris Duran has, she's trying to get back in as a note that we just received. Chris Duran.
oh. Let me-
Hi, this is Tracy Palma. Sorry about that. My connection got dropped. Anyway, I do want to say thank you to the committee for letting me speak, and thank you for all of the hard work that you've been doing. I have attended several of the sessions myself, and there is a looming issue that I don't hear talked about much, and that is the imputing of the income for the non-custodial parent. It's really concerning to me because that non-custodial parent, once they walk out of the courtroom, they're already behind. And I really want you guys to think about, not imputing the income. And that way the non-custodial parent can be successful in making those payments. Most parents want to support their children. They do not want to fall behind on those child support payments because that puts an enormous amount of anxiety and stress on them. They've already just pretty much lost their children. They're used to seeing them every day, and now they go down to a visitor, and then they're stressed out about how they're actually going to make those payments and also make their own ends meet. I mean, I know several non-custodial parents, both mothers and fathers, who have a very hard time paying their own bills after they've paid their child support because the amounts are just too much for them to make. So I really ask the committee to please take that into consideration. And one other comment that I have is I have said that I've attended several of these meetings, and I am also very disappointed in the demeanor of the committee. They seem to make fun a lot of the non-custodial parents. And again, like I think it was Mr. Freeman who just spoke before me, you're impacting people's lives, their livelihoods, their children. And they don't take these things lightly. So I'm going to get emotional here. When I'm on those calls, I'd appreciate it if you guys would not make jokes of it. Thank you very much for letting me speak.
And let me just say that I think the more appropriate forum, if someone has complaints about an individual member of the commission and their demeanor, their behavior committee meeting would be to address it through me as the chair of the commission. We're not putting anybody on trial here at commission meetings. I'm not going to tolerate that anymore in the future. But if you have issues that you think I should be aware of the way anyone in this commission or the committees is behaving or performing their duties, then please let me know.
Okay, thank you.
And that, even though it says Chris Doran, that was just for the record, that was actually the name. That was actually Tracy Palmer. Okay.
Yes.
Make sure every minute's correct. Any other public comment?
Don't see anything.
Our next meeting we're proposing of the commission, we're proposing for August 19th. Hopefully we'll have all the work we need done by then. And I don't know how forward we went with the timeline either, specifically around parenting time deviation, but I think our goal would be, to the extent that there is a recommendation for any legislative changes that the commission approves, the goal would be to try to get that dropped in November if a legislator sponsors a bill. And if anything comes out, we don't know that yet. Right? In terms of timeline, I think that's it as I recollect. It can be filed later, of course. It'd be better to file it earlier if we can have it ready. So that would be our time frame. So, and I think at the August 19th meeting, and I would like to have that meeting in person.
Mhm.
We can talk about whether or not to offer a virtual option. It's more complicated than having all virtual or all in person. It's the hybrids that are more complicated. So if there's no objection from the commission or staff, I would anticipate holding that meeting solely in person.
Judge Key, we can do that, and we can hold it as a hybrid because we do recognize that there are some individuals who simply can't travel into the city. I talked to LaTana about this the other day, that we would need to look at the state bar location, and we can do that and go ahead and get that booked and make it a hybrid. Noelle is very good about conducting those hybrid meetings for us. She has the equipment. We've bought some equipment that helps us make sure we can conduct those meetings.
And Elaine, if we plan far enough ahead, we might be able to consider the new building, the new judicial center.
I hadn't thought about that. Is there parking availability for the public?
It's not free
Incremental?
like the state bar, but yeah, across the street and to the side, there's a lot of parking. Just something to consider. It might be a
Okay.
good opportunity for folks to see it. I'm not tied to it.
Oh, well, we would love to be over there. I've never been in the building. I need to come over and pay you a visit. So that's a great option for us. We'll certainly consider that.
We have real good media support. The sooner, if y'all think about it, if you want to do that I get it on the calendar, the more likely it is that we could have the Judicial Conference Center.
Okay, that sounds great. And that brings me to a question, Judge Key, is that we need to set a time for that next meeting. I've already conversed with Dr. Venor, and she's holding the day, but we do need to work it out on a time for that meeting. She will participate through Zoom, so we would have to have it hybrid so she could participate. She won't fly out from Colorado, here to Atlanta for the meeting, but she'll be available on Zoom and can report and take questions.
And I would think that it would be longer than our usual 2-hour meeting, given that and given the Parenting Time Deviation Study Committee. And we're going to have anything from the Low Income Study Committee, anything to address?
I'm not certain, and I don't think that the judge is with us today.
Right.
But I know that what Dr. Venor is going to report on, we have asked her to consider what Georgia's position should be on low income deviation and parenting time. She will not tell us what to do. She will give recommendations or suggestions on what she considers would be appropriate for Georgia. So very likely there could be some discussion about low income as well.
For those of us who drive into the city, having it not first thing or last thing in the day works best. Even though I come from the south, it's easier for me than coming from some other parts, other directions.
August 19th is a Friday. I just want to mention that also, Judge.
Yeah. So I think the best, I would say either 9 or 10, but if we do that, we run into lunch. I'm not sure what we do about that either. Unless we have the funds with which to
We can eat late.
leave late.
Might not have to eat it all or bring your stupid brown bag and have at it.
Well,
What if we started at 9:30?
that's what worked fine for me. Is that, anybody object to that? Anyone in the commission object to 9:30? We'll just go when we finish.
Justice LaGrua, do you think, like, if we use meeting space in your building, would 9:30 a.m. would be doable for staff who provide support for the meeting room?
Absolutely, Elaine. Let me get on the computer this afternoon and put you on a circle with my assistant and me, and we'll see about the availability.
Okay.
And we can coordinate, and we can get Latana involved too to coordinate.
Right. Okay, that sounds great.
All right, that would be the plan then. 9:30 on Friday, and I don't expect to go all day, but I don't think we can do this work in 2 hours either, like we normally try to do.
Okay.
If we have some sense as we get closer, Elaine and the rest of the staff, if we can give some estimate, that would be good, but not going to be married to it. This work's too important. These decisions are too important to
Right.
rush through them. So we'll get all the time needed. We'll be as efficient as we can and try to get folks out of downtown at a reasonable time.
Right. And I will check in with Dr. Venor about how long she anticipates she would need for her presentation. And that way we can factor it into the timeline.
I would thank you all, members of the commission, staff, committee members who are on here at the meeting that are not commission members, and thanks to the general public and your comments. And we'll see hopefully all of you guys on the 19th and some of you at committee meetings before then. Have a great weekend. We stand adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Recording stopped.
As Chuck